Hi, I'm Vin with Boris Effects, and in this Title Studio Fundamentals tutorial, I'm going to take a look at how to use rigid runs to control the timing of my animation. Now, to understand rigid runs, let's first look at how animations in Title Studio work within the timeline. As you can see, here I am in After Effects, and as always, I'm going to create a 1920 by 1080 composition, 10 seconds in length. Once I've done that, I want to create a new comp size solid. With the solid in my timeline, I can trim it to the exact length I want. For this example, let's say 5 seconds. With that done, I'll go to my 3D Objects category and drop Title Studio right into that solid. Next, I'm going to launch the FX browser. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to select the lower third category and then pick this preset as an example. For now, we can work with the default text and there's no need to change anything, so I'll just hit apply. Now when I preview my effect, the first thing that I notice is that it animates on and off over the course of the 5 seconds. This is what I expect, so that's pretty good. But what if I'm using this lower third on, for example, an interview, and I need it to appear for a longer period of time? If I expand my solid layer to 10 seconds and play back my effect, Title Studio will stretch the effect over the entire 10 seconds. But here's the thing. The entire animation is being stretched, so while it's nice that the lower third appears on the screen for longer, if you notice, the animation on and off also takes longer. So how do I keep the animate on and off timing consistent? How do I make sure that the only section that scales with my clip is the intermediate period between the on and off animations? Rigid runs will allow me to select specific sections of my animation and instruct Title Studio to always maintain their original animation timing. Let's take a look at how to go about this. First off, I want to trim that solid layer back to 5 seconds. If I need to refresh the cache in After Effects, I can do so by going up to the Edit menu and then selecting Purge, Memory, and Disk Cache. Once that's done, I'm going to launch the Title Studio UI. When I look at my animation in the Title Studio timeline, I can see where the effect animates on, where it remains static, and where it animates off. What I want to do is maintain my animation with a rigid run. Everything in between can remain elastic, meaning it can expand or contract as needed based on the duration of my effect. Now, creating rigid runs is simple. In the timeline window, I'm going to place the CTI to roughly the place where I want to create that run. Then I will right-click and select Add Rigid Run. My rigid run will now appear as a red block in the timeline. I can adjust the start and end point of the run by clicking and dragging the red mark to the first frame and then the final frame of my animation. To create another run, all I have to do is move my CTI to the end, right-click, and repeat the process. If I want to remove a rigid run completely, it's as simple as right-clicking and selecting Remove Rigid Run. Once I have everything the way I want it, I'm going to hit Apply. Now, no matter how long my clip is, my effect will always animate on and off correctly, and only the areas outside of the rigid runs will scale. There is, however, one thing to be aware of. By its very nature, a rigid run is telling Title Studio, this effect must be this long. So if I apply an effect with a rigid run to a clip that is shorter than the animation of the run itself, well, I'm going to run into a few problems. To see what I'm talking about, let's trim this clip down to 1 second long. Because this is shorter than the timing of the rigid run, my animation is going to look really wrong. This is because, in effect, Title Studio doesn't have enough time to complete the animation and therefore is unsure how to render it. There are two solutions to this. The first is that any time I apply an effect with a rigid run, I have to remember to apply it to the correct clip length. The other option is I can go back into Title Studio and disable or adjust my rigid run. I'm going to want to make sure that if I do it this way, that I'm launching Title Studio on a clip that is the correct length. This is because the Title Studio UI will take the animation from the clip length in my host. If it's too short, when I launch the UI, my animation will be incorrect. But as long as I keep that in mind, rigid runs are always there to help me preserve the original animation timing so that I can stretch my effect over longer clips. And that's all there is to it. I'm Vin Morreale, and for more great tutorials, don't forget to check out the Boris Effects website. Take care.